Okay. And then I always have trouble with the share, but let's. Okay, share screen. Where's the share screen button? Oh, there it is. All right. Thank you all for coming. My name is Ernest, and welcome to our February meeting of the Patterson Park Neighborhood Association. For those of you who are joining us by Zoom, thank you for coming. Unfortunately, you do not get to have some of this delicious pie from Pie Time, but that's okay. We appreciate you being here anyway. And for those of you who are here in person, I know it's raining, but I appreciate you coming out. In a moment, we will have a presentation or we will be addressed by our guest speaker, who is Major Alberto Colón from the Baltimore Police Department. But the first order of business we have to have actually is to do our elections. They happen every February. It used to be in January, but we do them in February now because not enough people were coming to the January meeting. So first of all, let's just do a quick introduction. By the way, those of you who are on Zoom, are you seeing a slide down that says neighborhood sectors?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so these are the sectors of Patterson Park Neighborhood Association. And currently, for the time being, these are your VPs representing each sector. There, as you can see, the north sector is vacant. We do not have anybody representing there at the moment. And then these are your, I guess you call them the executive officers. I don't know what we call them, but so the president is me. And then our treasurer is Amanda Rhodes. She is actually leaving at this point, so the treasurer position is vacant. And the secretary is Elena Huang over there. And, you know, we're about to have our elections and we will see where we stand after that. So these are the positions. And the way this works basically is that we're just going to have a little talk, 1 or 2 minutes from everybody who is a candidate for a position. And we'll just call through them, you know, one after the other, and then we will do a vote. Just so you know, in order to vote, you must be a resident within the sector. I mean, within the boundaries of the neighborhood. You don't have to be an owner, you don't have to be a renter, that we don't care about, but you have to be a resident. So those of you who are not within the boundaries, I'm sorry, you cannot vote. And the vote will be done via a Google form, which we will put up a link and the QR code in a moment. So with that being said, let's just take it from the top. So do we have any candidates for the position of president of PPNA? Okay. So then let's each just have, your name starts with an A, right?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't you go first?
Okay. Sorry. I'm a talker, so I'm trying to protect all of you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I'm Erin McCutcheon. Let me stop so I can see everyone. I'm running for president. I have lived in Baltimore since 2008 and in Patterson Park since 2015. When we were looking for a house in 2015, it was really intentional where we wanted to look. We were looking for strong community and diversity, and this fit both of those. And so we've been there 9 years and have no intentions of moving anytime soon. So this is home. We love it. The reason I'm running for president today is PPNA, being a neighborhood association, really focused on clearly strong neighborhood. But what does that really mean? So I think about that is that really what we need to be focusing on is not just being part of a neighborhood, but being part of a strong community. A community at its core is at a very basic level, just a group of people with some common intersection. Of course, we all live here. But when I think people talk about community, they're really talking about a sense of belonging. As I said, I love this neighborhood. I am deeply involved in my block, in my kind of micro area around me. I think in terms of what we as a neighborhood association can do towards increasing a sense of belonging among the broader group, is really focused on kind of three components that I would love to see us really lean into. One is that our neighbors are informed. The second is that they are empowered. And the third is that they are engaged. The reason I say those is informed sounds really basic, but it is really the crux of people feeling like they are part of, right? So if you are not informed, if you are disenfranchised, then you don't know what's going on. You don't know how to get engaged. You don't know who your neighbors are. I don't think we need to do big, crazy things to make that happen. I think that is where some small changes as well as longer term ones can really make a big impact. The first being our website. It is pretty, it is up, it is live. It does not have a lot of information on it. So I would love to see our calendar have a group of people who are really engaged in getting information on there, both the technical side as well as, and this is where I think that engagement component comes in, us actually going out into the community and our neighbors and asking outreach for them to provide us information. People don't, know these resources are there. We need to go start that engagement so they keep looping back. That's talking to our businesses about the different specials they're running, what's going on. I'd love to see some highlights about Rise and Rest, new places. There's a yoga studio that a lot of people still don't know opened about 7 months ago. Things like all the events that happen in the park. A lot of people know the big ones like the lighting of the observatory, but there are things like weekly group of women that play the ukulele for young children during the warm months. A lot of people don't know those things happen. If they just know and they know where to get that information, that empowers them and they can show up and meet their neighbors. So I think there's a lot of things like that that we can really do that are at our fingertips, but make a huge impact in really bringing people central and getting them to really show up, be engaged, be involved, and feel like they are part of belonging. The last thing I will say in that is we have the online resource. When I first moved here, we actually had a paper newsletter. I know as a person who cares deeply about sustainability, that can sometimes feel antiquated or not very, the most bang for our buck. But again, we live in a very diverse neighborhood. There's still a lot of people who have the tech divide is very real, lack of resources or connection point, language barrier. So even doing something like a newsletter that's a one-pager once or twice a year really helps to go out and do that outreach so we can show them and point them back to the resources that already exist so they can start getting engaged. And I actually had someone in my network who works, owns a printing shop and already kind of threw around this idea with them and they'd be interested in helping us figure out how to make that really viable. So I think those are the things that it's just about asking people, how do they want to get involved? How do they want to ask? And that's really focusing on that outreach and getting the connection point up and running and really strong so that people start showing up and they start kind of adding to our network and our capacity to make the things happen. So that is my speech.
Just double check, is there anybody else who is running for president besides me? Okay, well then it's me. So I'll just say first off, obviously I am the incumbent. That does not mean that I get to be the president again automatically, and I will also say that whatever the outcome of this election, I plan to stay involved in this neighborhood and in this organization. So, you all should make your own independent decisions, and I'm gonna be fine either way. Erin probably will be too. She seems like she's pretty good to put together. And she's right. We need lots more engagement in the community. Right now in here in the room, I guess we have maybe like 30 of our neighbors here and another 15 on the Zoom. Our neighborhood encompasses over 3,000 doors. I know this because I once went and dropped literature on all 3,000 of them, which took 3 days. So I know that we need more outreach and we need to, well, okay. So the real point I am making, though, is that as president, I have always been very conscious of the fact that I don't represent just people who bother to show up for the neighborhood associations. I am here to work on behalf of everybody, which I think is something that, frankly, a lot of neighborhood association presidents don't understand. They stand up and they say, we represent, I represent the voice of the community. And I just have to sit there and say, no, you don't. Because you were elected by 40, people, 1% of your community. That being said, in my time here as the president, it's a little hard for me to talk about accomplishments because it's really something that the entire board has done together. And I don't really want to take credit for all of those, because those are the job of the president, I think, is to support the people in the things that they want to do. So, we have this green space on Bradford that was purchased and transferred to Charm City Land Trust to be kept as a green space in perpetuity. We have these intersections where we are working on doing some paint to make them more visible and do some traffic calming. We're working on setting up these cameras at different businesses so that we can keep people safe. In the future, what I am planning to do is I'd like to bring back, actually the biggest thing I'd like to do is I'd like to bring back movies on the square, Library Square, right here. That used to be something that we did before 2020. Obviously, it couldn't happen during lockdown, but that's something that we would like to do again. I am also working on organizing among other neighborhoods so that we can come together with our common interests and do more than just like what one neighborhood can do. So I'm starting to do those meetings and try to get us organized to put those together. And then, and also, by the way, we're putting together a candidates forum for the District 1 council race. So whatever the outcome of this election, I'm pretty sure I'm still going to be involved in setting that up and planning that, but just so you know. So, why am I running for president again? Well, to be honest, all the things that I just said probably would still be involved in them and still be doing them, even if I wasn't the president. Like I said, whatever the outcome of this election, I want to still be involved. And maybe that means, if I'm not elected again, maybe that means I become the head of the social chair or something. We'll see. I think that everybody who has ever been a neighborhood association president knows that you never want to turn down people who are willing to volunteer. But there are certain things where it's a little bit easier if you are the president, just because you are the visible person. Just the other day, I was contacted by a reporter from the Afro because they wanted me to comment on some proposal that Councilman Cohen had coming up. In fact, Ethan from Councilman Cohen's office is here, and he will be talking about that in a little bit. But that it's a little bit, I guess that's a little bit of a weird pitch, because I'm sort of saying like, well, here is what the board has done, and I'm not taking credit for much of it personally. And I think that is correct. And all I can say is that I've been your president for 3 years. I want one more year, and then, you must make your own choices. So that's that. All right.
Can we ask questions, please?
The problem is we have a really packed agenda. So, okay, I'm going to give us a couple of minutes for questions, but we really got to move this along. Okay.
So one different question. For you, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Aaron.
Aaron. I won't call you about that. So Aaron, you said you've been in the neighborhood for 9 years. What participation have you had with PPNA? Any committees, any participation in any of our events?
That's a great question. No, so I worked at a nonprofit that took most of my waking hours until about 2 years ago. And at that point, when I stepped back, got much more involved in my community, like my block, the neighborhood. I spent an entire summer like de-weeding the 8 tree boxes on my block so I could get to know the neighbors as they pass, right? It seems like it's about beautification and it's important. And I agree with all of that, but you also then meet the people who are walking down the block or take some time to warm up. And quite frankly, I mean, one of the reasons I would love to, like I mentioned, kind of the website, et cetera, is I wasn't even personally aware of kind of a lot of the stuff PPNA was doing or the opportunities. And as a person who is deeply engaged in my kind of community, at least for me personally, it kind of felt like if I didn't know about as many of the opportunities, there's probably a lot of people that would get engaged if they were more aware. I just think I did volunteer resource management for the decade I was at the nonprofit, and I know it takes a lot of work, so I'm not undermining that at all. It is a huge undertaking. And that's why I think it's just about kind of going out and putting it in front of people so they know and can get involved. So short answer, no, in terms of PPNA, in terms of the community, I think anybody in my kind of micro area would say quite a bit.
And Ernest, for you really quickly, you said you were doing a candidates forum or something for District 1. What about District 13 with the new redistricting? We got a lot more PPNA members that are in District 13 now, formerly in District 1.
I have not heard from other neighborhoods who are interested in doing that kind of a forum. I am aware that there are 2 candidates there. To be honest, it was much easier to get the District 1 forum going just because I could email, Butchers Hill and everybody else. And some of them were already talking about setting up a candidates forum, so it was much easier to just get that started. And I'm going to be very straight with you. I only have enough bandwidth at this moment to organize 1 forum. If there is anybody else who wants to help on behalf of PPNA to set up a forum for the District 13 and reach out to the other neighborhoods and get that set up, have at it, and I will tell you, I will do everything I possibly can to support you. Okay. All right, I'm going to give you the last question.
All right, quick question. So Arch McCowan, safety chair since 2007. So I've had, the chairs, we serve at the pleasure of the board, right? And so I've had 7 different presidents or groups.
Sounds right.
Under us, yeah, in that time. And I will say, so a statement and a question. So Ernest, you've probably been the most active as far as like with helping out with other associations too. Like you've actually gone to these different other neighborhoods, sat in their meetings, and you've helped me, including up in like Calvary Park, in terms of like equity and helping those folks up there with their safety plan. What do you see yourself continuing to do to increase, kind of our sense of, I don't know, wholeness across the Southeast Baltimore and maybe greater Baltimore as a neighborhood, like what we can do?
So I think the way I'll answer that is by saying that we are at this moment talking with a couple of different neighborhoods. And by that, I mean, current president of PPNA, am doing some meetings with other organizations. So mainly there's Butchers Hill, there are people in Fells Point, and there's a Comité Latino. You asked, what are we doing? Well, the answer is actually, it's kind of what they want to do. Okay, so when you bring a bunch of people together, it's really not going to work if there's one guy who says like, okay, we're going to do what I want to do. You have to build a consensus among the discussion. And so that is currently what we are working on. Now, one thing everybody did agree on is we would like to bring some more neighborhood safety walks. So BPD is actually here. But what would they like to do after that? I actually do not know, because that's going to be a couple of more meetings and we're going to decide among ourselves. So that's the best answer I can give you at the moment.
Thanks.
Okay. I'm sorry, we really have to keep moving this along. So sorry about that, but at the moment, let's move on to the next position. Is there anybody who is interested in a candidate for the position of treasurer? Otherwise, the president is probably gonna have to handle all the financial matters.
Check on one.
Yeah, is there any reason?
Okay. If you're interested in running for treasurer, go ahead and say something in the chat. I don't see anything, but you know, if you do that a little bit later, I'll catch you. For the moment, let's move on to the next position, secretary. So do we have any candidates for secretary this year?
Hi, yes. Sorry, I'm writing notes still.
She is still being the secretary at the moment. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Elena. I have been the secretary for PPNA for the last year. Outside of my work with PPNA, I work as a registered nurse with specializations in critical care and oncology. Beyond just PPNA, I'm involved with living classrooms where I work as a music mentor with students for 7 years now. That's crazy. And I've done some acting with Vagabond Theater. So I'm really involved in the community. I love working with people, and PPNA is great. I like doing secretary because it gives me a chance to like listen and make sure that everybody is informed about everything that's going on. In the past year, I got involved with PPNA after the Little Free Libraries kept getting set on fire. So I was able to work alongside one of our neighbors who's a welder, and we got one that is made out of metal that is much harder to destroy than wood. So for the next year, I'd love to keep on taking the minutes. I'd love to keep on taking notes. And I will work with whoever comes in as president to make sure that those items get in into your actual hands a lot more easily than I know they have been. I know that information has been more difficult to disseminate. I will say that for today's meeting, we're taking notes directly onto the website. So the minutes will be available on our blog. Yeah, I'd love to keep working with all of you.
I do not see any other candidates saying anything on the chat or in the room. So let's move on to vice president. So there are 5 vice president positions on the board, each representing one sector. And I'm just going to take this from the west and move along east. So the westernmost is actually Patterson Place. Just so you know, Patterson Place used to be its own neighborhood association, and then they joined in with PPNA. So there is now a sector called the Patterson Place sector. Do we have a candidate for VP representing Patterson Place sector? See one. Okay, let's hear from our candidate.
My name is Lindsay Graham. I have served as the VP of Patterson Place for 2 years now. This will be my 3rd if I'm fortunate to get reelected. In that time, I've worked closely with both our housing and our safety committees on many efforts. Lots of addressing vacant houses, addressing all kinds of crime. And then on top of that, a sort of hyper local project close to my heart that thankfully several neighbors who have been a part of that are here. We are creating a pocket park on an alley street that doesn't have a ton of greening, and so we have this opportunity, and in conjunction with Charm City Land Trust, we're able to make that a reality now. So bear with us as we continue to raise grant funds to beautify that space. But we're really looking forward to that. So I've been able to accomplish a fair amount over the last couple of years. Ethan will tell you, I've had 2 entire blocks repaved and had the sidewalk restored, which was much needed, hadn't been touched in probably 50 years. So, thankfully the city has supported us in our efforts with, things like complete streets that we can take advantage of to make those restorations. In any case, I've been, living in Patterson Place for about 7 years now with my wife, who actually used to live in our neighbor's house and rent the house. Moved to Caddy Corner, literally walked our stuff across the street. And I'm happy to be a part of the neighborhood with our 2 dogs, and I just park every day. So, if you'll have me, I would love to continue to be your vice president.
All right, let's move on next. So the next sector we have is going to be West Sector. Do we have a candidate in the West Sector? Okay, let's hear from our candidate.
Hi, y'all. I'm Colin Murphy. I live on North Streetborough Street. I've lived here for 10 years in January. And I love this neighborhood. It's awesome. I love the diversity of this neighborhood. I'm always telling people in Baltimore, newcomers to Baltimore, how Patterson Park is the best neighborhood. It's awesome. You need to come here. I'm a newcomer to like the Patterson Park Neighborhood Association and to meeting lots of you all. But I'm here because I'm interested in learning and in helping the neighborhood in whatever way possible. So I've met some of you. I haven't met a lot of you. As far as like I don't have, you know, the firm's platform or a long list of accomplishments to earn your vote, but I am here to learn as many perspectives as are out there and what folks are interested in terms of improving the neighborhood and making it as best as it can possibly be for everyone. Just to tell you a little bit about me, I'm really interested in creative placemaking and in traffic calming and pedestrian safety. So I love the work with grand projects and the intersection calming that you all have done and started to do, and that's going to happen in the spring. Very excited about that. I think that's just about everything I had. I was recently voted most friendliest colleague at my workplace organization. So as far as neighborliness is concerned, I think that's like a point in my favor. So take that into consideration. And yeah, thank you, Carol. I'd say. So yeah, and so I'd love to represent the West Sector and just help in any way that I possibly can. And like Ernest said, if I wasn't, I would still be happy to volunteer and just help whatever possible.
And just to be clear, Colin is not currently on the board. Okay. Next, do we have any candidate for the North Sector? Okay, seeing none. Let's move on. I put South here. Okay, well, do we have a candidate for VP in the South Sector? Okay. Do not see any others. Okay, let's hear from our candidate.
Hello, everyone. I am Kelly Poole. I have lived in Patterson Park neighborhood for the last 13 or so years. I've been in the South Sector VP for, actually, that's not true. I was treasurer first and then switched my role over to South Sector VP. So I've been on the board for the last 3 years. I'm also a teacher of Baltimore City Public Schools for 17 years.
God bless you.
Thank you. I care deeply about the community. My husband and I purchased our long-term forever home. We don't plan to go anywhere. I enjoy meeting people, getting myself out there, trying to bridge the gap between neighbors who are more outgoing and those who keep to themselves. I just like being a support system for whatever and whenever. So, yeah, I'd like to run again. Plus, you're a great help to me as well. Thank you. I've done lots of light projects, represented PPNA at the Live Baltimore event.
Do we have a candidate for the East Sector? I'm gonna check to see if this person is online.
You can either do anything, sure.
Okay, let's see.
Everybody,
Okay,
you people in Patterson Park, you don't know.
well, sorry,
My hand was up for VPs.
you're bringing, okay. Then let's hear from our candidate for VP East.
Good evening, everyone. I did not prepare a speech because I did not know I was gonna run for this office until I got here. And I decided, I got a vision of girl, anyway, so, so anyway, I've been on the board before. I've served as VPs twice. I stepped away last year or the year before. No, I
Last
took a
year.
break last, okay. I know I was during the pandemic, the part of the pandemic. I know everybody in this area. And I'm very connected my nonprofit. I've been working in nonprofits for 24 years, so I feel you. But yeah, I just wanted to do some more in the East. Abram, I love Abram. I've been helping him with food distribution, and which will continue. And Friends of Library Square, Ernest really touched my heart when he said he wants to go back to doing events in Library Square, because we've gotten away from that. And as you know, before I wrote a grant for $5,000, and we had summer in the square. We had an event every month in Library Square for people out. So hopefully if some funding opportunity like that will come up again, I'll do it. I've written several grants for PPNA, because I am a grant writer. I'm the executive director of Charm City Land Trust. So I just love Lindsay. When we connected last year, we were able to save that pocket park, but it started right here, PPNA connection of two neighbors who had a business connection to get it done and get the money raised for it. So anyway, that's it.
All right.
Awesome.
So, Elena, that means you're gonna have to add a name to the ballot. And so here's the way that voting is going to work. We're going to, here we go. Just a quick reminder. So, if you're not running for the board, or if you are not elected to the board, you can still be involved, because like I said, in any organization like this, you never want to turn away volunteers. So we want your energy, we want your time, even if you do not get elected to the board. I would actually argue that if you really want to get things done, you might want to actually join a committee, because that's where the real work gets done. I mean, the board is important, but I have absolutely no problem saying that people like Arch, our longtime safety chair, have a bigger impact on the neighborhood than I, the president, do. Not trying to say that just to butter him up, but because you can see the work of the committees as you go around. You can see it in the cameras that get put up. You can see it in the physical infrastructure that gets installed, and in the artwork that gets put up, and so on and so forth. That compost bin on Streeper that was set up by a committee, and on and on and on. The trees that got put up, those were set up by the greening committee a decade ago. So if you want to get involved, please do consider joining a committee. And after this election, talk to the board, and we will make sure that whoever the board is, will make sure that you get involved. Now, here's how elections are going to work. With this QR code is a link to a Google form. So I'm going to leave this up here while our guest speaks. So, and people on the Zoom, can you just tell me, can you see the QR code, and is it working for you?
I'm also going to drop the form into the actual Zoom chat.
That's fantastic.
It's working.
Okay, great. So, yeah. Also, candidates can also vote here as well. Fun fact, last year someone voted for my cat, who honestly is probably more effective than I am, but but while I'm leaving this QR code up here, we are going to hear from our guest. So, without further ado, Major Colón is here from the Baltimore Police Department, representing the Southeast District, and I am going to stop talking and just let him take it from here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I'll stand by here. So good evening, everyone. Happy to be here. Thank you for having us. My name is Alberto Colón. I was promoted to the rank of major 3 weeks ago. Is it? It's been a month. And then we were assigned also Captain Dallarado will have a chance also to speak. And we were assigned to the Southeastern District. I've been in police work for 28 years now. I'll give you a little bit of the journey of how I started, where I started, and now being here. I started in 1996 in Puerto Rico. That's where I was born and raised. And you may or may not remember, but in 06, Baltimore Police Department went to Puerto Rico and recruited officers. That's how I came here. And then 18 years later, I'm here in front of you, excited and happy for this opportunity that I have to impact the quality of life of the residents and the people that works and visit and lives in this district. One of a few recent assignments I had before I got promoted to major. I was the captain in the Central District for a brief moment. Before that, I was the captain in the homicide unit. And I've worked in the Northern District, in the Central District as a lieutenant. To include also, I was a sergeant in charge of the mayor's executive protection unit at one point as well. So this is good to see how well organized and committed this group is, and I wish you all luck in your as a candidates for your position. Again, I hope that you will meet all our NCO officers, and NCO stands for Neighborhood Coordination Officers. We have 3, a sergeant and 2 officers. Officer Cabreja is one of the officers. We're in Sergeant Johnson, which I'm sure if you haven't met him, you will in the upcoming meetings. Also, we are in the process of recruiting an additional officer for the team, and that process is in place, almost at the culmination of the process to add that officer. Before I open the floor for questions, I would like the Captain Della Rocca also address the meeting, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
So I'm Captain Albert Della Rocca, newly promoted with the majors, 2 Alberts. I'm also on the safety committee with Arch McCown. He adopted me, so I've actually met him at a few other community meetings. So yeah, we're just trying to get our face out there and introduce ourselves to everyone so you guys know who we are. I've been on the department for 24 years now. Most of my career has been on the tactical side, 18 years on the SWAT team, and then I was in charge of our range, all of our ranges and firearms instruction and stuff. So this aspect of policing is a little new to me, as far as the community aspect and getting to know everybody and stuff like that. So it's really interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. I love to learn, and I like to think outside the box and try to gather resources to solve problems and such. So I know that's what everyone here does. So I look forward to working with all of you. And yeah, that's it. Nice to meet everyone. Any questions of us? Thank you, Arch.
Thank you.
No questions? Your apple pie is good.
Quick question. I don't know, I'm not asking you where, do you guys live in the city?
No. But Arch.
Reason was, when I heard these guys would be coming on, I checked around with the city, other agencies, people who have been involved in the city, mayor's office, et cetera, and you guys both have really good reputations. The major, you have a sterling reputation throughout city government with a lot of people that I respect as well. So, and what I like to see, you both have emphasized the community policing involvement. So, and I think I mentioned you a week ago, there was Officer Andres Bermudez who was out of his car walking down the street, and I was walking my dog, and he came up and talked to me. And I have to say, I almost fell over. But I know him because he's a good dude. But if we could, just as a statement also, like if you could, you mentioned community policing, and I think that's really important, is to like be part of the community here. This neighborhood in particular, you know, with the diversity that we have going on here, if we could see that commitment and see your officers actually out, you know, engaging with folks and talking to them, asking what's going on, and, you know, talking to kids, talking to everybody, that officer friendly goes a really long way with folks here. And I've been here since 2007.
Yeah, I agree. That's something that we've been emphasizing since day one. We want the officers to get out engage, have a conversation. Ideally, I want each officer, my message is that I want each officer to be like an ambassador of what community policing is. That they know who lives in the neighborhood. Ideally, when you walk out and you see this officer, you can recognize more than a face, a name, because you've had the opportunity to strike a conversation. So this is the goal, that could be the dynamic, the environment, on a daily basis. I think that the combination of what is taking place here as a group and that other aspect of police engagement with the community is vital to accomplish the goals that we want for the community. Yes, sir.
I got a question. I've only lived here about a year and a half. Actually, like less than that, because we took our old house as everybody knows. So we've been here about a year and a half. We moved from South Carolina. So we came a long way, came from suburbia to the urban area. And unfortunately, we've had to call 911 for several events. And my only question would be, everybody's talking about it. I like the idea of safety groups, safety watches. But in the time that we've had to have assistance, it seemed as if their hands were tied more than should be allowed when it came to handling certain situations. And we've even called in and talked to supervisors, and there has to be some more instruction and more training. What is there going on for the area, people that are in our area, like Mr. Bermudez, I think is what you said his name was? We actually met him. Oh,
I don't remember.
yeah, training for that is what I'm concerned with, because sometimes we've been told things where the police officer said, nah, it's okay. And then we find out, no, it's not okay, and things should be handled better. And I think also, I agree, I think sometimes police presence is far more warranted than just every now and then coming up and showing up when something goes wrong. I think just the presence of driving around, being in the area where somebody, I absolutely love it when I go to the park and I see a police officer riding around in the car. I absolutely love it. The police officers riding around and they wave at you. I think that is just awesome. But I'm one of those that's going to talk to everybody and I'm going to wave my hand and, hey, how you doing? And I think that somehow with PPNA or with the safety committees, we need to have the officers that are in the area really get to know us better by having them. And I know that's tough because we just talked about you being shorthanded. To get them involved in some of the community, maybe, and I'm going to volunteer for those safety committees. Because I'd like to see them come in and meet us face to face, because there's a lot of times that we have issues. And I'll be honest, I've called and it was over 2 hours and still nobody showed up. So, but I think if I know you personally and you know me personally, and we hang out, we talk to each other every time we drive by, I think you're gonna be more willing to come over. Just like, if you know my first name compared to just my last name in an email, you're gonna be more willing to help me out far more than just somebody who's an email. And so I just think if there's any way that the police force can get their officers who actually patrol the area, because we've gone through several that come through. Now he left at 2, now he left at 4, or they don't have email set up, or they don't have voicemail set up. I think that would be huge in the safety committee to say, hey, you're Officer John Smith or whatever. You're him. I really like you. What else you got going on? And can you help me? Because I think it's what she said. She was talking about community and involvement and getting everybody involved, and to know a lot of people don't have a freaking clue about how to get in touch with people about things that are going on in the community. And I think having that involvement from the officers is huge. I mean, we have kids in the neighborhood that they just need some guidance sometimes. Sometimes you can see them getting off, doing things that they should not be doing. And sometimes a friendly policeman driving around, and I know late at night, I know it's risky for y'all as well. But just sometimes just your appearance, just showing up, coming in and just driving around. I think that helps. So I don't know what y'all have plans for that, or if that's able to be even put into your plans.
No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, community policing is definitely the cornerstone of policing, and building those relationships is so important. As far as like the training that the officers receive, I don't know if you know or not, but the Baltimore Police Department is working currently under consent decree. And we're starting to meet a lot of our requirements. They're starting to come to actual fruition now. And one of that is training. And so officers are starting to receive a lot more training throughout the year. And a lot of them are with building, has to do with building relationships with the community. So that is going in a good direction. Since the major and I have come into Southeast, one thing we're also trying to do is bring other resources to you, not just police, like you mentioned, since we're so shorthanded. We're seeing how we can partner with animal control and such to help the Addison Park. And, you know, just that's one to name a few, but state's attorney's office and things like that. But you're right about officers getting out of cars. Our commissioner has challenged officers to spend 40% of their workday doing community policing. It's actually calling out on the radio that they're walking foot somewhere. That's 40% of their day is our goal. How officers will be spending their days. So things like that, I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. You're right, we do have a staffing problem, right? You know, we're short, unfortunately. Not a lot of officers, but a very high call volume can sometimes lead to those long waits that no one should have to wait for. I get that 100%. Please don't give up on us though. Continue to call us, you know, continue to support us. And most of our officers are out there 100% supporting you guys and trying to do the best we do.
I think also, everyone that I've met, unfortunately, I've met a few, but I think everyone I've met have been
Yeah,
outstanding individuals.
good. I'm glad to hear that.
And I would, you know, I'd invite them in for tea and wine any day,
Yeah,
but
they
I
can't
just,
drink wine,
but I'm just saying, I would just love to see them out more and
Yeah.
about. That's the only thing. And I would, now that I know about your committees and, his, safety committees, I'd like to see them involved in that too.
And in those safety walks, we can actually coordinate to include the post officer. The challenging part remains the staffing, but we can coordinate. The aspect of that, the shifts will play a factor because of course, if we're doing the walks on the evening, then of course you won't be able to interact with the officer that is working, I don't know, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Oh, I'm sure it's a
for that. But
logistics nightmare.
nevertheless, you know, the example that you use about the officer patrolling around Patterson Park and saying hi, while I like that, I also want that officer to stop, gets in the park, walks and interacts with them. So these are the things that we are pushing to the newer officer, that it's like everything else. It's something that you have to develop. Not everybody has the same ability to interact and approach people, even though you're an officer, and there's still officers that are more timid than others. But, you know, and others are starting. So there's things that need to be developed and learned. But we're definitely aiming to develop everyone to accomplish that.
And to echo, I'm sorry, to also go back for those who don't know me yet, I'm part of the committee as well. I'm the neighborhood coordinator officer, along with that under the supervision of Sergeant Johnson. Ernest reached out to us. You know, unfortunately, it's the first time face to face, but like you said, it's a work in progress. Every time you see an officer, sometimes, you know, we don't want to interrupt with the day-to-day kind of, you know, your folks, even running, walking your dog in the park or whatnot. But like my major said, you know, sometimes the personality, it doesn't come with a uniform sometimes. So also we, Ernest mentioned the safety walks. Whenever you guys decide to do the safety walks, you can get together for that, please invite us, invite me, so I can bring the post officer. Depends on the time, like Major said, you know, it can be the 3 to 11 shift. But also, you know, work with us. I'm gonna obviously Ernest have my information. We came to the unit in July. The whole unit, my sergeant and unfortunately an officer had to retire. But you know, it's a work in progress. You know, we working with you guys. We know your issues, we know your problems, and I want to change that. So, and our unit as well. People that know me, 23 years in the department, I mean, I've been here the whole time in the Southeast, and I worked that area as well.
So, I do have to make sure we're conscious of the time here because the library does close at 8 and they will kick us out. So, I saw 2 hands and I also saw a question in the Zoom. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna turn to the Zoom real quick and then we'll take the questions in the room. Gerald, do you want to ask it out loud or else I can just read your question?
Oh, no, I can totally ask it out loud.
Go for it.
First off, I appreciate officers, everything that you do. So my question is not an attack or anything like that. But both of you said that you do not live in the community, but community policing is a focus. How are you approaching community policing when you don't live in the community?
Well, so we have a team, right? So the community policing, you won't necessarily can measure by me not living in the city. I have a whole district with sergeants, lieutenant officers. They're the ones out here engaging, interacting. So you will have that community policing from like any other organization as you have a structure and a chain of command. I'm here 12, 14, 16 hours a day. This is my meeting number 12 since I was assigned to the district. So while I might not put my head on a pillow within the city limits, from the moment I wake up that I'm driving down to work to the moment I leave and I get to work, my phone rings and I answer that phone to resolve whatever problem comes my way. And then the other 12, 14, 16 hours that I'm here, I'm doing what I'm doing right now, all day. So I understand where the inquiry comes from, but I can assure you that the fact that I don't reside here has nothing to do with my commitment and how I feel about my position as the district commander.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I appreciate everything you do for us.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a follow-up about I heard the challenge for 40% out kind of on foot. And my follow-up question around that is, a challenge there's a whole spectrum of what that can mean depending on how it's structured. So I'd love to kind of more, is that a call to action, or is that on the side where there's metrics and to know if it's happening, and not even in necessarily a punitive way for those who are or are not meeting it, but systems, right? Like if it is not happening, if there's a call, do we know if it's not happening? So then it can be addressed from top down to figure out, is that because people simply aren't doing it because they're not motivated for X, Y, and Z reason? Is it because they've been asked to do that, but it conflicts with another ask that they're also being asked to make happen and it doesn't all fit together? So I'd love to just understand
It's measured, and officers they call out when they're doing foot patrol or such. What interrupts them is the calls for service. So yeah, citizens call is what interrupts them, so they can't always complete 40%. That's why it's our goal, our challenge, to try to get to 40%, but fighting crime and such is.
totally, and that's why I'm asking, right? Because it's like, it's a great thing to call for, but if it's not possible realistically, I'm just wondering how do we know what the number really ends up being?
And if I may, and great question, because this is a good question to better understand the entirety of the dynamics. But there's a plethora of activities that might reduce the opportunity to get it done. We might have a deployment of 12 or 13 officers, but let's say that there is a protest down in City Hall. Typically, in order to attend that, we might have to send 2 or 3 officers for who knows how long. This is, one of the things. Maybe we have a suspect that needs to be processed. That officer is attending that. Maybe we have an individual in the hospital. That officer has to be in the hospital in custody of that individual. maybe we have a car that broke down. Now that is one less officer that we can capitalize in. And I can enumerate a few more, but just to expand on that. It's a lot of things that present a challenge to accomplish the goal that we want.
Sorry, I think my question wasn't clear. I was wondering like, when will it be measured to see if it's 40 or below or above? And then is there a set process to then address?
So we measure daily. Because every time an officer conducts a business check or a foot patrol or puts a 311 request.
Right.
This is all, this goes to the dispatch CAD. Call, it's how they monitor the calls. So we know how the shift worked that day and areas doing what. So yes, that's how we measure. But in every day, there's this activities we cannot control. But yeah, it's measured and that's kind of what we were given as the goal. But these things will be there because we cannot control when we get called to, we can't control when a car breaks down, we cannot control. These are the things that we mentioned. So, but yes, we wanna utilize every opportunity to utilize the time to engage with the community.
So 40% is your goal. What's considered realistic, like meeting expectations, and where are you now with that?
So again, we examine the calls for the day. And so we have to account for the call volume, like the captain mentioned. So one day we might have a 10% because the entirety of not the entirety, but the majority of the time was consumed by officers handling calls back to back to back to back call. And then if we were short staff wise that day, then it's magnified because we have less time because we have less officers to handle more calls. So it varies day to day, but we monitor to ensure that the opportunities that we had that day were utilized. And if not, then we bring this to the supervisors so they know that certain times during the day provided an opportunity for this activity.
It is measured on captured. I could probably maybe catch those real numbers and bring them next time. I don't carry those with us, but it's definitely captured and it is measured. And we look at it at least weekly, downtown meetings. And it is possible. It's 100% possible. Before years ago, there was zero tolerance and things of that nature. It took up a lot of officers' time, and that doesn't exist anymore. So we're trying to take a different approach. And we've definitely grown a lot from where we were, I believe.
Okay, so we're gonna take our last question. I'm sorry, I gotta move this along, but if you're okay, Major, maybe you can stay a little bit after the meeting so that people who are in the room can also just talk to you for a little bit. So you get 1 minute.
Sounds good. I'll keep it short. Thanks, guys, for being here, especially because you're short staffed. Really appreciate the resources you guys devoted to us tonight. I'm a social worker, community advocate, among the people that come to me for support in our community, this specific community, including our block, are survivors of domestic violence and sexual violence, crimes that are very rarely solved and really, frankly, addressed appropriately in a lot of contexts. And my work regularly centers around helping people reach a level of safety, health, so that they can then reach out for the support, which often then looks like coming to you guys and file things like temporary restraining orders and so on. The responses haven't always been great. I want to believe there's a future where the people that I serve can believe that they will be taken seriously and they'll be heard. I want to convince them that they have the right idea when they go to the police in our community. So I ask you guys, what should I tell them to rebuild that trust?
Again, I don't want that one bad experience taints, the entire workforce. I know that there's, like in every profession, there's some individuals that will go above and beyond, some others won't. But if you know a specific instances that the service was not provided the way it was expected, please try to get a supervisor involved. So we know the things that we have to address and correct. But is there anything that is pertaining to the Southeast District or
It's in this neighborhood.
is it this one? Can you, if you don't mind, and you can communicate with Cabrera so we can gather some information and yes, I would like to look into that.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm sure that, there are many other questions and other things that you would like to say to our guests. They have agreed to stay for a little bit after the meeting, but I have two more items to get through before we call it a day. One is going to come from Ethan from Zeke Cohen's office, and he is. Ethan, I'm sorry, I can only give you 5 minutes.
No, you're.
But, yeah, so please tell us about this plan that the councilman has for us.
Actually, the camera putting this up.
Yeah, no, you're visible right now, so
Sorry to have my mask on. I'm like, say, the COVID exposure. I think I'm clear, but.
if you can't hear him, let us know, but otherwise, I think the mic is pretty good.
Cool, so, Ethan, legislative community affairs director from Zeke's office, wanted to let y'all know about, well, first of all, I just wanted to introduce myself and know most of you, I think, but, here for constituent services, for things going on, happy to help. Really appreciate collaboration with BPD and all the other agencies, BPD's here from BPD as well. Really appreciate that. Independent redistricting, so, as I'm sure y'all are aware, Patterson Park was split.
They are asking you to come closer to the mic, actually, so, yeah.
Okay, Patterson Park split between two council districts, because our district grew, which was unfortunate, and I think there was a feeling around a lot of the city that the process didn't take any community input. And just a lot of people felt sort of like left out and betrayed. So this legislation would introduce a independent redistricting commission. Basically, people would apply to this commission, they're randomly selected out of the application pool as long as they meet like objective qualifying criteria. And then that group does the redistricting. The goal being that it's almost entirely free from political influence. So these aren't people that are being appointed by the mayor and the council. The mayor and the council don't get formal override or veto power or revision power. It's really in the hands of the community. There's a lot of public involvement requirements, and we're just sort of trying to make it a community-driven process, but the power back in the hands of the people. So happy to take any questions about it, but just want to tell you a little bit about it, especially because I know Patterson Park was impacted.
And so just really quickly, so you did send text to various neighborhood association presidents. Is it allowed for us to start distributing that?
The letter?
Can we? The text of the bill.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Can we share that now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And just to be clear, my understanding is that like this redistricting council, they will come up with a map and they will send it, and the city council, if they object to it, they have to put that in writing, and so does the mayor. But the redistricting committee can still decide, well, your objections don't hold any water, we're gonna implement this map anyway.
Exactly, the commission has the final say, and that's based on, I believe New York, city does their redistricting in the same way, where the council mayor or the mayor gets the way in, but they don't really have the final say.
Okay, I'm sorry, we can only take 2 questions, but did I see a hand up?
I'll contact you.
Okay,
Okay, sounds good, Michelle.
all right.
Anyone? Cool, I'll try to hang out a bit after for any questions or physician services, questions anyway.
All right.
Can call on. Cool, thank you.
Okay. So then before we take the tally of the election, I just have one other thing to tell you which is that we have set up our community dumpsters we get 4 of them per year. The next one is going to be February 24 at Kenwood and Fayette, which is to say right outside this library right here. So February 24, and then the other dates, we will put them up on the calendar. Well, you know what? I didn't have that ready. I should have been prepared, but we have 3 more all spread throughout the district. So community dumpsters, be aware of those. Okay, so I'm sorry I'm rushing us along, but like literally they will turn off the lights and send people to kick us out. So could the secretary please read out the results of the election?
Sure. So coming in with 33 responses, President for 2024 is the incumbent of Ernest Lee. 33 responses for secretary, me, having run unopposed, so thank you, everybody. The treasurer spot remains vacant and remains a hugely important job, so if anybody is good with money, we'd love to have you, and I encourage you to come and apply next month, and if anybody who was not selected would like to apply for treasurer, I think that they can speak with Ernest to probably work something out. North Sector Vice President, we have 2 responses for other, but no name. Oh, here, wait. 1 response for other for North Sector Vice President nominated Colin Murphy. Right. For South Sector Vice President, we have 33 responses for incumbent Kelly Poole. Congratulations. East Sector Vice President, we have 28 responses. At 57%, Cheryl beats out incumbent Abram Sylvester with 16 votes, and 1 other person was nominated, that being Cheryl Bryant.
That is Cheryl's last
That is
name. Yeah,
Cheryl.
okay. Yeah.
Cheryl, congratulations. For West Sector Vice President, we have 27 responses. We do remain having the incumbent Lindsay Thompson as West Sector VP, but Colin Murphy, as you were nominated for, what was that, North Sector VP?
Do I have to live in the north? You wouldn't have to. Trying to move? You trying to move?
We can house for you.
It has been done before.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's actually kind of a decision of the board whether to allow it is the short answer. So the new board will decide, and we'll talk to you, Colin.
We do have 1 more response coming in for treasurer, as a nomination of Casey Sonnenborn.
He's great.
Okay.
Isn't Casey on the chat right now on the Zoom? Thought I saw Casey's
Right
name.
now, one of your fans, because we gotta know if you actually want this role.
Yeah,
Hmm?
so Casey, we will be in touch with you. If you actually want to be treasurer, we'll gladly take you. And congratulations. And for Patterson Place Vice President, we have incumbent Lindsay Johnson Brown. So congratulations. So it looks like we will speak with Colin Murphy and Casey Sonnenberg, and Aaron, we'd love to still have you involved, so we'll have you as well.
All right. So our next meeting, by the way, our meetings are every month on the 2nd Monday, which I believe in March is the 11th, but some of you might have to double check your calendars for that. And I can tell you right now, one of our guests for March is going to be Councilman Zeke Cohen. I didn't tell him what to talk about, but I imagine he's going to talk about running for a city council president. So that being all said, yeah, so our elections have happened, but those of you who want to still be involved, please do talk to us, because we want your energy and we want your time. And so with that, we will call an end formally to this meeting. We have to be out of here by 8. And so please give us a hand to clean up as well. All right. Bang the gavel.